you see yourself as a product of marketing hype?
Everything happened organically. It wasn't something that the record label was pushing. It was basically happened because my fans liked me.
Imagine you are 12 years old. You live in a small town nobody has ever heard of. Your mom doesn't have much money. You don't have a dad around. But you have this thing inside you, this voice, this feeling when you sit behind a drum kit or pick up a guitar that nothing else in the world gives you. So your mom points a camera at you, and you sing, not for the world, just because you love it. That was Justin Bieber in 2007. A kid in Stratford, Ontario, singing into a camera in his living room. He had no idea, none, that those videos were quietly spreading across the internet, that strangers were watching, that one of those strangers was a talent manager named Scooter Braun, who clicked on the wrong video one afternoon and couldn't stop watching. Within months, Justin was on a plane to Atlanta, standing in front of Usher, the man whose music he had been covering in that living room. And just like that, the ordinary life was over. Forever. What happened next is almost impossible to explain to someone who didn't live through it. Justin Bieber didn't just become famous, he became a force of nature. By the time he was 16, airports were shutting down because of him. Girls were passing out, mothers were writing angry letters to radio stations, his face was on every magazine, every website, every locker in every middle school in the world. And here is the thing, nobody said clearly enough at the time. He was a child, not a young adult, not a teenager who had time to grow into it slowly. A child, dropped into the center of the most intense spotlight in the history of pop music. There were people around him, managers, handlers, label executives, but the machine needed to keep moving. The machine needed another single, another tour, another interview, another appearance. And Justin, because he was young, and because no one had taught him how to say no, and because the love of all those millions of people felt incredible, Justin kept giving the machine what it wanted. For a while, it was magical. And then it started to cost him. You have to understand, the world didn't just watch Justin Bieber rise. The world became obsessed with the idea of watching him fall. There's something ugly in us that does that. We build someone up, and then we wait. We wait for the crack. And when it comes, we don't feel sorry. We feel satisfied. The cracks came. A DUI, racing cars through the street at 4 in the morning. A mugshot that went around the world before sunrise. The tabloids ran out of ways to say the same thing. That Justin Bieber was out of control, that he was ungrateful, that he had wasted what he was given. But nobody asked the deeper question. What do you become? When the whole world owns a piece of you before you even know who you are? What happens to a kid who is never allowed to be invisible, not even for a day, from the time he is 13 years old? And darker than any of that, what happens when the industry surrounding you has secrets of its own? Names that would later surface in investigations, rooms that young artists entered and never fully left the same. Justin was in those circles. He was young and he was valuable, and not everyone around him was there to protect him. We didn't know all of that then, but we should have asked more questions. Instead, we just laughed at the mugshot. Here is where the story changes. Not with a comeback tour, not with a hit single. It changed quietly, privately, the way real things usually do. He met Haley. They had known each other for years, crossing paths in the strange world they both inhabited. But somewhere in the wreckage of everything, he looked at her differently, and she looked back. In 2018, on a beach in the Bahamas, he got down on one knee. She said yes. And for the first time in a long time, Justin Bieber had something that belonged only to him, something the machine couldn't touch. But the universe wasn't finished testing them. In 2022, Justin's face stopped working. A rare condition called Ramsay-Hunt syndrome, a virus attacking the nerves, left half of his face paralyzed. He looked into the camera and moved one side of his face, and then showed the other side. Completely still. Frozen. He had to cancel his world tour. He had to stop. And then, as if that wasn't enough, Haley collapsed. A blood clot in her brain. She was 25 years old, and for a moment, the person he had built his new life around was in danger of being taken from him. Two young people, sitting in the rubble of their health, their plans, their sense of safety. The world barely noticed. There was always someone else to talk about. And Justin Bieber went quiet. Silence, when you have spent your entire life being the loudest thing in the room, is its own kind of healing. He went to Iceland. He made music, not for the machine, not for the charts, not for the headlines. He made music the way he used to, back in that living room in Stratford. Because he needed to, because it was the only thing that had always been his. In July of 2025, a single word appeared on a billboard in Reykjavik, then in Los Angeles, then in Atlanta, then in his hometown in Ontario. Swag. No explanation, no marketing campaign, just the word. And somehow, the world already felt it. The album arrived and it sounded like a man who had been through something real and come out the other side, not broken, but honest, open, alive in a way his earlier music, polished and perfect as it was, had never quite managed. Critics who had spent years dismissing him stopped. They listened. One wrote, "He has never sounded this connected to something true." He played the Grammys, standing alone on a bare stage, looping guitar with his own hands, singing with a rawness that made the camera keep cutting to Haley in the audience, watching him, adoring him, knowing exactly what it cost to get to that stage. People felt him again, really felt him. And then came Coachella, April 11th, 2026.
How many days until I can see you again?
The desert, night. 100,000 people packed together with no phones. Just their faces, their bodies, their presence. He walked out, and they didn't just scream, they cried. Before he even sang a word, people were already crying, because they knew, everyone there knew, what it had taken for him to be standing in that spot. He played through the new music, he played through the old songs, he took them all the way back. And then, in the middle of it all, he stopped. He opened his laptop. He pulled up YouTube, and on the giant screen behind him, a 15-year-old kid appeared, hair swept to the side, sitting in his mother's house in Stratford, singing Baby. The man on the stage watched the boy on the screen, and then he sang along with himself. Across 15 years, across everything that had happened in between, 100,000 people lost it. And here is the thing, they weren't crying for Justin Bieber. Not really. They were crying for themselves. For their own 15-year-old selves who used to watch those videos, for the years that had passed, for the versions of themselves that were once that young and that hopeful and didn't know yet how much life was going to ask of them. Justin Bieber has always been that, a mirror. We put our feelings onto him, our joy, our cruelty, our nostalgia, our need for someone to either be perfect or fall apart. He was never just a pop star. He was the kid we all knew, or the kid we all were. He has a son now, a little boy named Jack. He has a wife who almost wasn't here, and who is. He has a face that went still and then, slowly, came back to life. He has a voice that the world tried to own since he was 12 years old, and which somehow, through all of it, remained his. The boy from Stratford who sang into a camera for his family is now the man who headlined Coachella, who stood on a stage and played himself back to himself, who looked at 15 years of living in public and instead of hiding from it, sang along with it. That's not a comeback. That's what surviving looks like. We all grew up, but he did it in front of the whole world, and somehow, he made it.